So greetings from Pennsylvania once again. This is a Monday morning, November 27th, the Monday after Thanksgiving. We're back here at the Clarence Shock Memorial Park here at what's called Governor Dick. And we've been here recently a number of times. I just hiked the horseshoe trail through this park not too long ago. And more recently, we talked about the history of why this place is called Governor Dick. It's kind of a cool story about a former slave who worked up here on this hill and escaped at some point, and why the place is named after him. We're back today for some more history and for some more hiking. Right here, we're in the midst of deer season here, rifle season for deer here in Pennsylvania. But there's no hunting at this park, so it's a safe place where I can come hiking this time of year and also stay out of the way of those who are hunting out in the woods. So today we're going to be exploring the narrow gauge railroad track that leads up to the observation tower at the top of this hill. So here is the parking, or one of the parking spots for Governor Dick. Just down that way is Mount Gretna. This is Pinch Road. Oh, right there's that stone monument that talks about the history of the place. We featured that in a recent video. And of course, if you follow Pinch Road, it takes you down to the main parking area for this place. But here is the narrow gauge railroad. You can see it clearly going up that way. We saw a little bit of it when we were hiking a horseshoe trail through here. I believe it came across here, and I think it went all up that way. That's state game lands right over there. We're not going to be going over there today. So in this video, we're going to go for a hike. We're going to follow the narrow gauge railroad, or what's left of it, the path up to the top of the hill where the observation tower is. And I'll talk with you a little bit about the history of the track, who made it and why. Maybe we'll see some wildlife along the way too. So let's pack up and get hiking. Actually, before we head off, let me show you the map here. We are parked right up here. Like I said, the main parking area is down here where the environmental center is. But right here is the trail. The narrow gauge trail comes up this way, does a little loop right here, switchback, heads up this way, then loops back around this way to where the tower is. So it kind of makes a couple of loops. Because since it's a railroad track, it's finding the path of least resistance up the mountain, so it does these little switchbacks. Yeah, when we were here last time, we hiked up the red trail to the tower. So anyway. Alright, so let's head off. I mean, it's a clearly defined railroad grade heading up here. Yeah, it takes only top of that hill, but that's where the observation tower is. Yes, this railroad gauge, this is a narrow railroad gauge. It's actually only about 2 feet wide, much smaller than the typical railroad tracks are. I think it was sometimes called the dinky train because it was so small. But it was only meant to carry tourists to the top of the mountain where some towers were. Not the original, not the tower that's up there right now, but there were some other towers up there. I think the guy who built this railroad also built a 60-foot platform up there on top of the hill for people to view the surroundings. We were up at that tower recently in the last video, so it is a cool observation spot. Yeah, but the man who built this, his name was Robert Coleman. It's a familiar name in this area. There are several Robert Colemans. His grandfather was also named Robert Coleman. I think his father was like the first millionaire of Pennsylvania. They were both involved in the iron mining industry, iron furnaces and things like that. Our Robert Coleman in this video was heavily involved in the railroad too, investments, and that's why he could build his own railroad up the top of this hill. Yeah, I believe that over there, you can see another trail over there. I think that's the horseshoe trail. We were on that earlier, a couple of weeks ago. It kind of crosses up over here. Yeah, at one point this was called the largest toy in the world, or the most expensive toy in the world. And it was built all the way back in 1889. It only took him 3 months to build it. Of course, I mean, he didn't build it, but he had other people build it for him. They did it in 3 months. But it only lasted for like 4 or 5 years. I think 1894 is as long as it lasted. We'll talk about that later. He got into some financial problems. There was also a financial crisis the financial crisis of 1893 also affected him and this little railroad. Yeah, right here is the horseshoe trail. You can see it come across here. And there's our yellow blaze if we were following the horseshoe trail. It goes up that way, but we're going to continue this way. And here you can see where it starts to cut through the hill here. If you look back, you can see how it's
the railroad is raised above the ground. They always try to keep the railroad as level as possible, and not have a steep grade. So in low-lying places they build it up, and then in places where it cuts through a hillside or something, they have to dig a cut through it. So that's how you can always tell if it's like a railroad track or not, or a former one. And it was built solely for tourism. It was only meant to carry people to the top of the hill, so it didn't need to be a bigger one. But since it was so small, so narrow, he had to have special locomotives brought in that could fit on this track. But he had the money to do so. Yeah, so just picture almost a smaller, like, amusement type train just going up through the woods here a little bit. And why at some point we're gonna make a turn and start heading up that way. If you're familiar with the little train at Knoebels Grove, up there, was that Elysburg, Pennsylvania? They have that one little train. It's a little train, but you know, it kind of winds its way through the woods there. I'm kind of picturing that in my mind, but on a bigger scale though. Somewhere between that and a full-size railroad, I guess. Wonder why more people don't do that. Have like smaller train rides going through the woods and stuff. I think that'd be a cool idea. Anyway. Yeah, we should soon be coming to the point where it makes a turn up here. I should say it only cost 25 cents for this ride to the top, which I think I read is equivalent, if I could say the word, to about $7 today. There's another trailhead up that way. So, not that expensive. And they only ran in the summer months because the train cars that went up here were open air, so they're open to the elements. Alright, so we just came across from here. You can see the red blaze. This is one of the main roads going to the top. This is the fire road. But you can see, I'm going to turn you around, you can see how narrow our trail is right here. We're still following that railroad bed. We're on a raised area again. So it's, like I said, it was only 2 feet wide, the actual track. Yeah, just back there, it got destroyed a little bit when they built that other road there. A little harder to make out, but here it's very clear again. And we're approaching that switchback area. Yeah, much more narrow than it was earlier there too. Yeah, you can kind of make it out as it goes through the woods there. So just picture yourself in an old, I don't know, railroad car with an old locomotive in the front, toting you up this mountain, this hillside. It was probably a lot more open back then too, because this forest had been used, very heavily for charcoal making. We talked about that in the previous video. So even here, you probably had views out the way more so than you do now. Yeah, but just look how much they built this up. I mean, this is quite steep coming up and then dropping back down again. So this is all man-made right here. This railroad grade here. Yeah, I'm just remembering, like I said, they built this in just 3 months. But that's, I mean, this is quite a bit to fill, to make this. Now his tree's growing on it. And here it's where it kind of cuts into the hillside a little bit. probably a lot of the fill that they used to build up that area back there. Yeah, looking back, you can kind of see the trail going through there, how it's all built up there. A lot of that probably came from right here, because once again, there's probably this hillside probably came through like this. They removed all that dirt to make this nice and flat, and used that dirt to fill in the low area behind us. It's often how it worked. So in the beginning, this was successful. I think the first year it was open, the first summer, 36,000 people rode to the top of this hill. So, you know, I didn't do the math, but you can do the math in your head. 25 cents times 36,000. It's a decent chunk of change. So eventually it failed. Like I said, it was popular at first. It failed more due to other financial issues that Robert Coleman faced in later years. He couldn't really keep it going. I think we're crossing that fire road again. I think this is one of the main, like I said earlier, one of the main ways people go up to the tower is taking this road. That's what cut us off. Just down there is where we came across. We did kind of like at that switchback, that loop, coming back up this way. In order to negotiate this terrain increase here, or altitude increase. Remember, the trains don't come uphill real well. They need to have a gradual uphill. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's some information. There's our railroad bed this way. Huh. Yeah, the narrow gauge railroad, built by a wealthy entrepreneur and Mount Gretna Park founder Robert Coleman as a hobby venture, was a passenger train that connected 3 points, Mount Gretna. It was opened in 1889. Yeah, talk about the different types of locomotive needed. Parts of the railroad were made in Pennsylvania with the bolts and spikes. Closed in 1915 when the cost to maintain it became too much. We'll talk about that. Track is about 4 miles long. I guess that's an actual picture of it. Narrow gauge engine and rustic bridge, Mount Gretna Park. Well, Mount Gretna Park is below us. And I think that's the tower he built, or the pavilion. Cool. Eagle Scout project. Alright, let's keep going. Yeah, so I think I mentioned it at the beginning of this video. This track started back in Mount Gretna. What was called the Mount Gretna Picnic Grounds. And there was a little spur made to the, I think what they call today the National Guard Parade Grounds there. That spur is what operated until 1915. This track right here ended operations in 1894. And actually the track itself was ripped up and scrapped in 1916. At least this section. But this would have been a beautiful ride up, because even now, I mean, here in the wintertime you get a bit of a view out there, the mountains and stuff. Like I said, back then, this was probably all not quite as tall forests, so you probably would have had quite a view even just heading up to the tower or the platform. I think it would have been pretty awesome. Even today it would be. It'd be cool if they redid this and had gave people train rides to the top of the mountain here. But I doubt that'll happen now. Unless somebody with a lot of money comes along. Speaking of money, let's go back to Robert Coleman. Talk about what happened to him. But before we get to him, just notice this is a really nice section right here. Noticing too, there's like another old road of some sort down there. It doesn't look like it's one of the official trails, but it's definitely a man-made path going down there along the bottom here. Not sure what that is. If it had something to do with the railroad or not. But yeah. Starting to like this park more and more. I've kind of yeah, I'm not sure why I haven't visited it more in the past. Some nice winter views out there, though. Be a cool trail to hike in the snow, I think. Keep that in mind. And if you're looking to hike up to the observation tower up there, this is the easiest way to get up. Not the shortest way, but if you're looking for a more nice gradual hike up to the top, this is the way you should take. There are shorter ways, but they tend to be a bit more steeper to get to the top. So the route we took and last time I was here was much steeper. This you are gradually going up, but you don't even really feel it because it's like I said, it's a railroad bed. Railroads are not, trains are not meant to go steep uphill. So this is a nice hike. But back to Robert Coleman. And remember, there were several Robert Colemans. The one we're talking about in this video is the grandson of the other Robert Coleman. I mean, both were ridiculously wealthy. But our Robert, he had invested heavily in other areas, dealing with the railroad. He got involved in a railroad project down in Florida, I think down in the Florida Keys, which at first wasn't so successful. And then there was something called the Great Panic of 1893. So he was already having some financial issues. I think the people that originally backed that railroad down in Florida had backed out, and he had to like fund it entirely himself. Then I mentioned there's something called the Great Panic of 1893, kind of like think of the Great Depression in the 30s. That's kind of what it was like a little bit. It was like a big economic recession, and that hurt him bad. It's a shame because later on, that railroad that he invested in did become a success, just not when he was investing in it. So he missed that by a couple of years. But anyway, one thing led to another, and he kind of got ruined financially, to be honest. And in 1894, he had to stop running this. So right up there is the tower through the trees. Let's get up here a little bit further. I don't know if you can make it out through all the trees up there. I think right up here is the trail that I took earlier. I think it was last week I was up here. The steep trail. Yeah, that other road-like trail is still down here. It's intriguing me. Yeah, right up here is the trail that I came up. It's a red circle trail. The blazes are red circles. The one we're following is like a red rectangle. Yeah, but it comes basically straight up this hillside. I think it might be the quickest way up. And now you can get a better view of the tower up there through the trees. Right there. And I took so we were on that railroad grade just a little bit that one week. We took another little shortcut up to the tower, which was right up here. I think, yeah, right up here it is. I think this is Trail 2A, they call it, going up that way. But we're going to stay on the railroad grade. It's going to kind of loop around the hill and come up to the top the long way. Once again, because it's a railroad, it can't do those steep sections, so it kind of has to loop around the mountain gradually to gain height. Yeah, so I would highly recommend this trail. I mean, it's got some cool history to it, but you know, like if you're looking to get to the tower at the top, you know, it is even today it's a tourist attraction. It's not the same tower that was here back then, but it's a like you hardly even feel like you're going uphill, even though you are. Of course, you can get back down a different way if you want. But if you're looking for some exercise, you can take one of the steeper ways too, obviously. But if you're just looking for a nice, pleasant hike to the top, this is the way to go. Yeah, we're starting to make that turn now around the hillside back to where the tower is. You can kind of see it through the brush up there. Join up with another trail here. This is the blue blazed trail. Not sure which one this is. I don't really have a sign for it here. Oh, it's trail number 9. Right there it is. I don't know if I've ever been on that one. Anyway. Looks like we have a number of trail junctions right here. This trail we're on is the red blaze trail, the red rectangles. Here's another trail coming from this way. Is that number? That's number 11. Well, that takes us to another cool feature here in the park. There's some other videos I'm going to make here, and one's down that way. We'll do that another time though. Get back that way, there was a radar tower or a radar site post World War II. It was for what was called the Nike Missile Defense System. The military built back there. It was to help defend the country from missiles and stuff. We're gonna make a video on that sometime. I know that there's much left to see, but that's still a cool story. It's something we can do here this time of year. So we'll have to get back here again soon. And almost to the top, and rising up in the distance through the trees is the tower. And then here is where you would disembark, make your way to the top of the tower. Of course, remember this is the newer tower. Thinking that one information board down below built by the Boy Scout, there was a kind of a picture of what the 60-foot platform looked like back then. This was your destination. So I climbed up there last time we were here. I'm not going to go up there today again. I really don't feel like doing it. Don't really need to. I was just up there last week. But it is a cool view from up there. Well worth 25 cents or $7. You know, will be equivalent to today. All right. Yes, that's the story of the narrow gauge railroad here at the Clarence Shock Memorial Park here at Governor Dick. Like I said earlier, it's a really nice trail to hike up. There's multiple ways to get up here, but that's by far the most gentle and easiest way up. But like I said, there are other ways. It all depends on what you prefer. But one last look at our modern day tower. All right, but it is time to head back. But that'll be it for this video then, folks. I'm gonna head back down. I think I'm just gonna hike the railroad bed but back. There are other ways to get down to where I parked, but I think I'll just enjoy the hike, gradual hike back down as well. So I probably won't film anything on the way back unless there's something I missed or something really cool pops up. Get attacked by a bear or something. But anyway, as always, folks, thanks for coming along. Come check this place out. This park has a lot to offer, I believe. Like I said, I should have been here more often in the past. Not sure why. Yeah, sometimes things just kind of slide off your radar. You know, speaking of radar, we gotta make that other video of that place too. So I'll be back here again soon. Like I said, we're in that 2-week hunting season for deer. So I'm trying to stay out of areas that are open to hunting right now. So there's some other history here too I gotta film as well. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks for coming along, folks, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one, wherever that may be.